Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Salmons, and in each episode, we'll uncover the stories behind successful startups, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future expansion. Today, we're excited to have Larry Keiter, the founder and CEO of Development is Hope, joining us. Larry will be sharing more about his founding story and giving us a glimpse into plans for future growth. So let's jump straight in. Larry, welcome to Founders Future.
Olivia, delighted to be here today.
Oh, it's a delight to have you here. Can you take us back to the beginning? What specific problem inspired you to start Development is Hope?
Absolutely. So, the beginning, if you really think about where I got my start, it was with Walmart. You may have heard of that company.
I
I
have.
began back in 1986, right out of college, was hired away. And I had the privilege of working with Sam Walton directly. And I managed stores, and I also managed a district of stores. And I also had the privilege of training some of the Wertkauf, the German district managers in Nebraska, because we were highly successful. We had great work ethic, and in Nebraska, all you do is work, right? There's not a lot else to do. But we had something very important, and that was the people skills, the interaction with each other. And we were learning all the time, Olivia. So really, Walmart was what gave me, in those first 22 years of my career, was learning how to grow so fast. And we did that by doing it, trying it, and fixing it. And we were an innovative company in the retail landscape. So that's where I got started.
Awesome. So from the start from there, and then you developed and branched off on your own, if that's what I'm understanding.
Absolutely. So after
Amazing.
Walmart, it was a great ride. But about in 2008, I decided, hey, I'm going to do my own gig. I'm going to start on my own. And so I joined with two other gentlemen, and we had a consulting company. And at the time, I didn't understand the strengths, the gifts that I had. I got a little nervous because 2008, if you remember, the stock market took a dive. And so all I had saved up through Walmart, I watched go bye bye. And I'm
Oh,
thinking, oh man, I need to go work for somebody again. So I went back and led the talent initiatives for an insurance company. All the while in the back of my head, continued to build my business, continued to think about that day when I was going to branch out on my own. So I did succession management, leadership development for this insurance company, promotions, engagement, all those things. And that's where I crossed paths with Gallup. Gallup was a company that had tools that I used, also Korn Ferry. I used those tools. So today, the last 3 years or so, I branched out on my own. I finally said, you know what, I got this. And it's been amazing.
awesome.
So that's what I'm doing now, Olivia.
Awesome. So walk us through a little bit how your business generates revenue today and what is the core
Absolutely.
offer from the coaching and everything
Absolutely.
around that.
Absolutely. So a lot of the relationships that I've gotten through Walmart and through this financial company, a regional financial company called Emeritus here in Nebraska, but it also is through the Midwest. I've had a lot of connections and word of mouth and people that have moved on to other companies and they say, hey, Larry, I hear that you're coaching. I hear that you're teaching. And so I go in and I do workshops based on Clifton strengths, but also based on executive presence, based on being inoculated from the imposter syndrome, which is huge, at change management, all those things. And so companies now seek me out to do executive coaching. Primarily, that's probably my busiest piece of the business. And then workshops with some of these leaders are also what I do.
Awesome. So it's a mix of group coaching, as you said, and then a one-to-one at a higher level as well, if I'm understanding correctly.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Yes, and I
Perfect.
have a team that works with me. They're behind the scenes, but I do have another coach that I'll bring in with larger groups, anything over 25 people. I'll bring in another
Amazing.
coach. I also work with the university here in Lincoln, Nebraska, and use some of their student coaches for some one-off projects. It's been delightful to still have a team, but yet to be on my own and to learn the ups and downs. What I love to do at corporate America, I still love to do in my own business. What I don't like to do, what I didn't like to do in corporate America, I still don't like to do in my own business. So it's unique how these things transfer.
Yeah, I can imagine. And there's a lot of founders that are listening and could probably resonate with that completely. They love what they do and they
Yes.
love what they sell and they love where they're going. But there's those little sides of it on the back where they're like, oh,
Yeah,
what is going on here?
exactly. Exactly. And Olivia, I talk about the imposter syndrome, and I'm the expert on, but I had that for a long time, starting my own business. In fact, I had it that I went back into corporate America because it got the best of me. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not worthy of this. And it was a tough decision to make. but it gave me enough energy. And now, when I coach individuals today, because I coach a lot of individuals that are leaders in companies, corporate America, that say, I got an
Awesome.
exit plan. Can you help me with it, Larry? And the first thing that I'll say is practice your craft while you're still in the organization and you're being funded by somebody
Yeah.
else. That'll give you that repetition, that competency of, I can do this. Preparation is really the number one inoculator of imposter syndrome. Make sure you're ready. And a lot of people leap out of corporate America and start their own gig, and then they're like, holy crap, where are the guide rails?
Yeah, 100%. They're taking that leap too soon because they're so eager to get out. They forget that they need that other stuff to help support them as well.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I want to go back. You did mention you have a team with you. You bring on coaches to help you with the one-to-ones
Yes.
and with all that good stuff. So what does
Yes.
your team look like? How is the back end working? What are the nuts and bolts of the
Absolutely,
company?
absolutely. I'm blessed. One of the individuals, Stacy, she worked with me at the last company that I was with, and she has a great tagline. She is a mom who likes to work. And she makes that very clear because she's not a working mom. In other words, work doesn't come before her kids. So she's very steadfast in her core values, and I really abide by that. So I'll find her working at any hours of the day. My daughter also worked at this past company. She's a CPA, and she's a stay-at-home mom now. She homeschools her kids, but she also
Awesome.
helps with the accounting and taxes and assessments and things like that. And then I have a Spanish speaking coach. We've done some workshops with Mexican teams, and he's just delightful because he speaks the language so fluently, and that is just a cross. It's something I'm not fluent in yet. So it's nice to have somebody that speaks that language, because we do have a lot of Spanish speaking companies that have a large portion of their talent that is from Mexico. So it's been delightful to have Eddie on our team as well.
Awesome, love that. And the team seems very close knit. So as you say, you've got family members aboard, you've got people you've trusted and worked with for a long time, and the add of
Yes,
Spanish is helping you grow and take you to those next levels and reaching people that you might not be able to do yourself because of that
absolutely.
language barrier.
Yes, and Olivia, just like you reached out to me and we developed a relationship, I stay close to organizations that I can learn from. One of the organizations I'm working with, they've given me a seat on their LinkedIn Learning. I am not too proud to say, hey, I want to be part of your team, but not all the way. The University of Nebraska at Lincoln, a large university, I'm on their board of directors for the Clifton Strengths Institute. That's a Gallup program, but that keeps me plugged into the college. And students are doing trying fixing. And so they're always teaching me the latest technology things to use.
Yeah,
Slido is a great tool that I use in my workshops, but I could go on and on. AI, right? They are not afraid of those things. They use them in their classes. It's a great learning opportunity to stay plugged in with universities, but also companies.
awesome. Awesome, love that. And yeah, drawing influences from different people. As you mentioned before,
Yes.
you know what you're doing, but you might need help on those little other ends from corporate sides that you're not comfortable with yourself.
Yes.
So
Yes. And
I
that's
want to
why,
get into
Olivia, that's why I accepted this invitation, because I knew I would get more than I gave. You can hear me talk all day. I have
exactly.
high communication, but I want to learn what you're doing, and that inevitably will help me.
Awesome, amazing. So one thing I do want to touch on is how you're currently going about acquiring customers and the people you work with. What channels and methods have you found most effective?
Great point. So I do have a newsletter on LinkedIn that I just started, and I really started it because I'm getting ready to launch a book. And my editors were like, "Larry, you need to get a newsletter." And I'm like, "I don't want to start a newsletter. I don't want to pay another app." And I had LinkedIn Learning, right? And so
Mm,
that is one of the primary things that I use. And then, of course, X, I'm on there. And then Instagram, some of the basic channels. And I have a website, right? So I do have a website where people can contact me. If I put something out there, I always leave the link to my website on there. I wish I could tell you that it's ideal. I'm not sure. We're still learning. 3 years in, we've tweaked a lot of things. We've done it, we've tried it, we fixed it. And LinkedIn, the newsletter is my latest foray into how do I stay connected.
Yeah, LinkedIn is a great tool and it's one that founders bring up a lot and it's one that's coming through because it's a slightly more professional version of the social media and I feel like it's great to connect with the people that are on that kind of same level and looking for that same kind of thing.
Yes, I
So
don't,
what
Olivia, I don't use Facebook. I'm connected with lots of friends, but I keep that distinction. That's my family and
yeah.
friends. So I don't advertise on there. I don't put my website information on there. People that know me will do that. And somebody might say, well, you need to put yourself because you're selling you all the time. I make that distinction and I've had that boundary. And I don't know if that's right or wrong, but that's me.
Awesome, and you'll love and you'll learn from that. Maybe one day you'll feel like that's the right path to take, and you're ready to take that
Yes.
step. As you mentioned before, it's all
Yes.
about pivoting. So once you've contacted these people, once they've built that relationship with you, what does the sales process look like? Um,
Sure.
Walk me through that bit a little bit from initial contact to close deal.
Absolutely, be glad to do it. So I have offerings. If somebody were to say, "Hey, Larry, what kind of workshops do you do?" I could have a list of workshops that I put out there. And what I really pride myself and my team on is customizing. Everybody's different. So it really starts with the relationship of that leader. Maybe HR brings me in and introduces me to the chief operating officer or the financial
Awesome.
officer, and they have a team that they want to develop. I've had individuals contact me about conflict management. And so I will build back a proposal, something that I hear them saying, and then I send that to them. And I said, here's what I heard you say. Here's what I recommend. Let's discuss. And from there, it's a back and forth to learn it. And then I put the final piece together and say, this is what it would cost you for me to come in and do that. And usually it's a 6, 7 month relationship with executive coaching. Workshops, it's usually a half day or a full day.
Awesome, I love that. So it's very personal, very adaptable program that kind of suits the needs of the client, and then yourself adapting it forward from there. So you've
Absolutely.
been going strong now for 4 years, and we have talked about little bits of learning steps and pivots that we've had to take. So what would you say is the biggest bottleneck to growth right now?
Ah, so the biggest bottleneck really comes down to clear communication and really holding your values clear. Because as a team, one of our values, again, remember Stacy and Jessica, busy moms.
Hmm.
Then Eddie, he's running his own company along with working with me. Flexibility is one of our core values. Olivia, staying true to our core values. We never set out to be the biggest, to get every client that's in my community across the state or even across the Midwest. We set out to work diligently, one client at a time. So rather than do 8 or 10 workshops, I want to do 3 or 4 this quarter and do them very well. And I think the key to that is stay true to the model that you built because that's your brand. And
Love
if
that.
I overpromise, sometimes I know I'm going to underdeliver. And I don't want that. I want somebody to say that was the best workshop ever. And I may price it a little bit higher for that, or I may not be able to accept something to keep that flexibility, to make technology pay, to be as big as we want to be. Those are our core values of our team. And we talk about that every meeting because each one of us want to be our best. We don't want to be the biggest or the brightest if we can't back it up. So I would say that's the biggest thing that I've learned because I did try to chase everything. I would coach individuals that said, "Hey, Larry, I know you coach executives. Can you coach me? I'm going through a transition." I've learned not to do, I'm not good at that. I'm impatient. So that's not one of my sweet spots.
Nice, but it's good that you recognize that early on, and then and enabled yourself to keep consistency, which is key in
Yes.
knowing your product and driving yourself forward. And
Yes. And
liquidation isn't always a great
yes.
step point for that. So I
And
love that
Olivia, I will tell
completely.
you, your clients begin to realize your brand, and
Yeah,
if you're true to that brand and it shows itself, they'll contact you back if they want your brand. And if they don't, it wasn't meant to be, right? It's the classic
yeah,
story. Let it go. If it comes back, it's yours. Doing your best with each client. It sounds cliche, but it's easy to forget because you start chasing the sale. You start chasing things that really aren't in your wheelhouse. They're not your strength. They aren't what you do. And I don't want to hire a bunch of coaches and see how big Larry Keiter coaching can be. I want us to be the best. So
I
that's
love
that's
that.
what gets in my way sometimes because business is booming, right? There's people that want to grow and want to. Nobody goes to work every day and say, "I wonder how I can screw it up." They want to know what they don't know. And that's why development is hope. Give me the gift of awareness. Give me the gift of development. Give me something I don't know yet, and you're valuable to me.
Awesome, love that. So I suppose if you had to identify one thing that, if solved, that would make the biggest impact in your business growth, what would that be?
One thing, clarify that for me. So, like a product or a procedure or a process or belief?
Whatever you, a belief, anything that you believe is key to the seeing the success and the seeing development is hope getting out there and getting to the masses. What is most
Yes,
important to you? What would you implement a change?
absolutely. It's the same thing that I coach because I take people through the exact same process, whether it's a individual partnership, a conflict management issue, or even spouses that want to have a stronger relationship, which I don't do a lot of that, team building or organizational, all of those take the same step. And that first one is awareness. The
Yeah.
gift of self awareness. I am a strong proponent of emotional intelligence because, Livia, no matter what business we're in, you and I, it doesn't matter what business we're in, the people business first. And so remembering that, I don't come in and say, here's your ROI. I don't come in and say, here's the best practice. Here's what Corn Ferry says. I think of the individual and I understand their innate ability, how they're motivated, what their strengths are. And I learned that. And once I learn that, I can help them because that's how they see the world. That's their perception. So building trust, all of that is part of the emotional experience. Human beings are emotional beings that also think. It's not the other way around. We're not thinking beings with emotions. We're emotional beings that think. So I will tell you the one thing is emotional intelligence, and that first pillar is self-awareness. So
Yeah.
that's what I lead with.
Love that. And it all comes back to the imposter syndrome and what we was talking about before, getting out of your own way, being aware of where your strengths lie, where your weaknesses lie, and growing from there. So
Yes.
we're going 4 years strong. What are the top priorities for growth over the next 12 months for Development is Hope?
Great question, and thank you for asking that. So I am in the midst of publishing. We're doing a pre-sale. It launches tomorrow, actually, and I was preparing for that right before the call of a book called Unleash Your Amazing. So this book is a culmination from where I started with Walmart. Sam Walton, his famous words of Larry, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So that's where I started with the emotional intelligence. Unleash your amazing, and then unleash their amazing is the team and the organization. So that book is really my next step because it's what I talk about, that maybe I can be a little more
Awesome.
efficient. And maybe I can do so by capturing all of this in a book, what I talk about in executive coaching, what I talk about with the team. I've always wanted to write a book, and that definitely is on the top of my list right now.
Awesome, amazing. And as you say, it's there and it's on the cusp of coming out, and
Yes,
the listeners out there can go and grab it whenever they want to.
absolutely.
So now we're going to go to a hypothetical question.
Please.
If you had unlimited resources, snap our fingers right now, what would you implement or what would you change to help accelerate growth?
Oh, I will tell you, one of the things, again, our core value as team members is flexibility, right? So they can work whenever they want. And I want to work whenever they want because, Olivia, I have something more valuable than money, and that is grandchildren and children who I value, and not just my daughter who works with me. But if I had unlimited resources, and let's just say those resources, I wish they were time, but they're not.
Yeah.
So not having the time, I could have the most money in the world, but I don't think I would change the way that I'm doing things because I look at every opportunity as a gift. And if I can do the best with that gift, I don't need any more money. I want more time. Nah, I can't get that either. So I love your hypothetical, but I found happiness is having is wanting what you have, not trying to wish for things you don't have. I don't ever put myself in that hypothetical because I'm pretty blessed right now. And I try to balance my time, not too much work, but I'm in a different place than a lot of founders would be. So I love what I do, and I get to do this with the clients I choose that choose me. And so I don't want to build a bigger thing. I think technology is that's what's so amazing and what helps founders. There are so many awesome tools out there that you can build a suite and not need an accountant, not need an IT person, not need it. It's amazing what we have access to. And now with AI, it's unlimited what we can do with a simple application. So I have unlimited resources, my friend. I truly
I
feel
love
I have.
that.
Yeah.
And technology has, you mentioned there the unlimited resource of time. I think technology has given us that, where it's like those little tasks coming off and giving us that little bit extra time to spend with our grandkids, to go home, just have that life around and integrate work into it nicely, which I love that. So I love that answer.
Yes, and I want to
Um,
bless my clients by not coming into them going, "Oh, where am I? What am I doing?" I want to come into them with the confidence of, "I'm prepared. There's no imposter
awesome.
here. I've got your best interest in mind." And that takes balance. That takes the ability to keep your head on a swivel and not to be panicking, not to say, "Oh, I'm late." I really challenge myself when I hear people say, "Oh, I'm so busy. I'm so busy." No, you're prioritized differently maybe than somebody else. Your busyness is just an offshoot of, are you really doing what matters most?
Love that. Love that completely. So, as you see the coaching and consulting industry growing and evolving over the coming years, how is development is hope positioned itself for that future?
Absolutely. So speaking like this, and when I come across people like yourself who get it, right? You are out there and you're putting yourself out there and you're asking people, because I'm sure I'm not the only person that after we met through the Gallup coaching, I'm sure I'm not the only person that you asked. So our opportunities are just based upon what do we want to do? What's our why? And if we have that ability that I want to do this and I know how to do this. And then we stand confidently and do that, right?
Yeah.
So that piece is so important because you're gifting me this opportunity to regurgitate what I love to talk about, right? You're bringing my amazing out and unleashing it simply by saying, "Hey, Larry, would you like to talk about this?" Yes.
Awesome. I love that. And you can feel the energy coming from you. You do love to talk about it, which is insane and incredible to see.
It's
So,
amazing.
just to finish it up and switch it up a little bit for the
Sure.
last round, we're going to go into a bit of a lightning round. So, let's start with what is one tool or resource that has been a big game changer in your business?
Oh my gosh. One tool? I have to only do one tool.
You can
I
only
said
pick one.
the gift of awareness, so assessment tools. So I use those because those are a great way for people to understand themselves, whether it's a Gallup assessment or the 360 assessment, where the world gets to say, this is what you look like, Olivia. This is how you show up every day. That 360 is probably the greatest gift to any executive I've ever worked with. It's the gift of awareness.
Love that. And what is the best piece of advice that you've received about scaling a business? Going back all those years.
Yeah, yeah. No matter who you're working for, Olivia, you're always working for yourself. And I remembered that when I was with Walmart. I might have been working for Sam Walton, and that Walton family might be the richest ever. I didn't care. I believed in what that man was doing. He didn't want to be the biggest, he wanted to be the best. So I worked hard, not for Sam, I worked hard for myself. And guess what happened? We created an amazing company. I benefited from that. And then I took that information with me and all that development I had, and I took it to Emeritus and I learned more. So no matter who I was working for, I was always working for myself. And here I am today. I'm still working as I work for other clients for myself. And everything I put my thumbprint on, that's my autograph. That's who I am. And I have to remember that.
Awesome, love that. And then, as a final note, what advice would you give to any founders listening who are just at the start of their own journey?
Oh my gosh. Again, we are emotional beings that also think. So if you are one of those emotional beings like I am, your first start may trip you up with that enthusiasm, unbridled eagerness to take on the world. Always remember to have a partner who helps you think strategically about it. It may not be you. It wasn't me. I had to stop, rethink, readjust, and I learned. I did it, I tried it, and I fixed it. Set a goal where you're going to go. Be relentless on that, but no, it may not be a straight line. And you may sweat and cry through this process. That's a part of living, that's a part of growing. That's the best thing I could
Awesome.
say.
That's the best thing I think I've heard, which is incredible. And with that is a wrap on another inspiring episode of Founders Future. I want to thank Larry for sharing his incredible journey and insight with us today. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. You can also find more resources and insights at closers.io, where we're dedicated to helping businesses accelerate their sales and marketing efforts through world-class systems and playbooks. Until then, keep climbing, and we will see you on the next one.